Summer Camp is a new comedy film that is now playing in theaters with a stack all-star studded cast, but is that stacked cast making it a good film? Nope, not even close, not even by a long shot. Three childhood best friends who used to spend every summer at sleepaway camp together seized the opportunity to get back together for a reunion at the camp. The film stars Diane Keaton, Kathy Bates, Alfre Woodard, Eugene Levy, Beverly D'Angelo, Josh Peck, and Nicole Richie, and was directed by Castille, Landon, and I've seen one of her films before, and that film is called Fear of Rain. So going into summer camp, I didn't know anything about this film. I never saw a trailer or any advertisement whatsoever for this film. I did see that it had a 9% Rotten Tomatoes score, which I was like, okay, I will lower my expectations, and the fact that Diane Keaton was in it, I definitely had my expectations lowered because last year I saw the film Maybe I Do, which was a really bad film, and then 2 years prior I saw Mac and Rita, which was not very good either. The last film that I saw her in that was half decent was the film Palms. The film, it starts out in a summer camp and you have these girls that are about 11, 12 years old. They're doing horseback riding, archery, they're liking a bunch of different boys, and you have this girl named Mary who is having her period for the first time, and she's getting teased by these other girls, and you have the two other girls who will later become our main characters. They're helping her out and use a product for the first time to help her deal with that situation. Then it fast forwards to 50 years later, and we have our three main characters who are in their professions. You have Kathy Bates playing a character named Jenny, who is a self-help author. You have Diane Keaton's character. She plays a character named Nora, where she is a chemical engineering CEO, where she is distributing cleaning products. And then you have Mary, played by Alfre Woodard, who is a nurse, and she has her husband calling her and nagging her. All three women meet up, and before you know it, we are headed back to the summer camp that we were at 50 years prior for a 50-year reunion. Now, I'll start off with the positives here and say that the cast here is absolutely phenomenal. You have Josh from Drake and Josh here. You have Beverly D'Angelo from the National Lampoon movies. You have Eugene Levy from the American Pie movies. Nicole Richie, which was really random. You have her as well. The cast here is absolutely phenomenal, and that is the biggest draw for anybody to go and watch this film. Josh Peck, I have not seen him in a film or anything whatsoever involved with acting in a very long time, and I thought he did a pretty good job with his role. He's kind of hamming it up at times, but I think that he's having a good time with his role throughout this film. The way that the film is shot, the cinematography is done really well. Now, they shot this film in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is actually where they filmed the 1990s film Heavyweights, the Disney film, if you're familiar with that. So that cinematography is really done well, and I just love the different shots, like on the river and the cabins. It definitely has that summer camp atmosphere. The movie, though, is terrible to sit through. First of all, we'll start off with the emotional stakes of this film. Now, this film, it doesn't have any emotional weight whatsoever, and an example of that. So in the beginning of the film, I talked about how Mary was being bullied by these three girls. Well, they come back to the camp for the 50-year reunion, of course, and we meet up with them, and they have like a brief conversation with them, and then we see them in one other scene in which they have their back turned to the other characters, and our main characters that were being bullied, they make fun of them behind their backs, and then we never see them again. So it really didn't make a whole lot of sense that they were actually even involved in the film, which really brings my point also to other emotional moments. So for instance, in the beginning also, these two girls, they fall in love with these boys at the camp. Now, Eugene Levy is one of those boys, and you have Dennis Haysbert, who is also involved as well. And both of these women are really infatuated with these guys. But there isn't any emotional weight with that relationship, or both of those relationships rather, because we really didn't have much of an establishment of those relationships in the beginning part of the film. So when you actually translate them to adults, it's like, why should we actually care about those stakes of those relationships? Because they don't really develop them throughout this film. The three main ladies, we learn a little bit about them. Kathy Bates' character, she's very controlling, and she really has missed out on a lot of memories. You have Diane Keaton's character, who is a workaholic, and she really doesn't seem like she wants to be married or be with any kind of man whatsoever. She's just kind of content and just always working. And then you have Mary's character, who is in an unhappy marriage, and they don't communicate effectively. And this whole reunion really is trying to rekindle their relationship and actually make some lasting memories 50 years later. Now, the comedy in here is very cheap, type of slapstick kind of humor, like, hey, they're in a pillow fight, or Diane Keaton falls off a raft. And there's this one part in this film that really made me check out. So they're in a cafeteria, and you have Dennis Haysbert, who is one of the love interests for one of the women here, who chokes on a chicken wing. And when he's choking on this chicken wing, they give him the Heimlich maneuver, but before they do that, they say, hey, you want some wine? Then he spits out the chicken wing, and then we have a food fight, and I was just completely checked out by that point because it's just not funny. I felt like there was points in here where there was potential to have actual jokes. Like, for instance, Kathy Bates' character, she has some sex toys, and I thought maybe we could have some jokes out of here. Or there's various activities like them falling off a horse, but there isn't any punchline to those jokes. And it really starts to go into the dialogue itself, because the dialogue here feels very much improvised. It feels like the characters don't have a lot to really work with. It doesn't feel natural, and it feels like we're going through the motions here where nothing is really developing, and we're going through a story that really isn't really progressing as we go along. Other little nitpicks that I had is the music itself. I don't think it fits with this film whatsoever. Towards the end of the film, they play this Bryan Adams song, and I was like, yep, that definitely does not fit whatsoever. They have I Can Make Your Hands Clap throughout this film, which, again, it doesn't actually fit this movie whatsoever. And there's a lot of songs to me that just feel very much out of place. The outfits in here didn't make sense to me. For instance, Diane Keaton, she's wearing a turtleneck. It's the summer. Wear something a little bit more for the summer. I mean, it's not freaking like 40 degrees out. Wear something where, you know, it actually fits with the whole summer vibe. And I didn't understand that whatsoever, because she's always wearing the same outfits in every movie that she does. The whole cabin that they're staying in is way too nice. If you're going to be staying at a summer camp, actually have an actual cabin that looks like something that you would actually stay in, not something that's all fancied up and just, it looks way out of place, and it just doesn't look like they're actually staying at a natural cabin, which really bugged me. So as far as the score for this film, I would give it a 1 out of 5. This was terrible to sit through. The plot here is just not that good, and the whole reveal towards the end is kind of confusing in a way. And at the same time, when that reveal is actually done, I was like, okay, so if this is the reason why you did this, then why was all these other people actually invited at the same time? So that whole reveal definitely was just kind of out there and left field, and I just didn't really understand it. So this is why I give the film a 1 out of 5, because it's just not a watchable film. It's very boring to sit through, and while I was watching this film, I was just thinking of anything else that I could actually do, because the film is just such a bore to sit through. I mean, this is definitely a top 5 worst film of the year for me, because there's just nothing of value here, or really any plot points where I was like, oh yeah, this was really great, or they wrote this really well. I just think for a director, and this being her 8th film, this is the product that she put out with this amazing cast. It's just such wasted potential. It could have been so much better. It could have been a lot more funnier. I've seen a lot of summer camp movies, and some that are really not that great, but they have a lot more elements to bring the summer camp vibe. And I think here they just don't bring it out. What did you guys think of summer camp? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? And if you haven't checked it out, are you going to check it out on streaming, or are you going to skip it altogether? I definitely don't blame anyone for skipping this movie, as I really feel it's not worth anyone's time unless you're just a super fan of Diane Keaton. I can't see why you would actually want to watch this film, and I do think that it is more so relatable probably for the seniors, but I was in a theater with 2 other seniors and they didn't laugh the entire time throughout this film, so I'm not sure how much laughs this is really going to get out of different people. So those are my thoughts on this film. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys on my next review.